So I've got a bit of time to kill before my ferry, so I thought I'd visit San Pedro, Fort San Pedro, which is the place where the Spanish were based during their occupation of the Philippines. And there's quite an interesting history to read about Magellan and the things he did for the Philippines and stuff, but unfortunately was killed by the chief, one of the local chiefs called Lapu-Lapu. That's the second time I've been here. There isn't much to see as such, but just the actual well-preserved walls, etc. I think there's possibly been some rebuilding on the inside, but the main fortress is intact. So there is a gallery which I shall go to. Give some money to the guys here for the blind, because there's very little support system here in the Philippines. There you go, guys. So up to the top of the fortress walls, some of the old cannons are still preserved. In fact, the whole area looks well preserved, but I'm sure it's been re-rendered or re-cemented in places looking at it. This reminds me of what we have in my home city, some of the old cannons from the 15th, 16th century also. But quite a nice, pleasant place to be. I'm not too sure the water tank was there in the 15th century though. I recently watched a program on one of the YouTube channels about Magellan and his journey to try and work out a different path to the Far East. So they actually proved that the world was round, because until then nobody realized what was further on. So it's a very interesting one if you Google it. And when he came to into Cebu, unfortunately there was a battle with one of the local chiefs who obviously didn't like the Spanish being here, understandably, and a bit of a rebel. They got into a battle. Unfortunately Magellan was killed. And I've been here now just over 6 months, and I'm getting acclimatized because it's about 32 degrees and a little bit of cloud cover, as you can see. But Cebu city seems to have a situation where it rains more than Bohol, where I live, that's for sure. So it's just about right, the temperature, quite comfortable. One of the disappointing things, there's lots of things to see here, like all these old doors and parts of the back of the fortress, but no explanations and stuff anywhere. Nice pleasant park area, which I might take a walk around afterwards. But I want to make sure I don't miss my ferry, because they've reduced the services on OceanJet Monday to Thursday, so the last one back is now 1:30 p.m, which is crazy because it's impossible to go to Cebu city and back in one day, Monday to Thursday. So I think the weekends there's a 5 or 6 p.m. roughly around that time. I say roughly because they keep changing the schedule. So nice scenery here. Look like some Korean tourists. Koreans are the most nation that visits the Philippines most, along with the Chinese, but there's been a reduction because of a massive reduction, in fact, because of the pandemic that China is still trying to keep completely eradicated, which ain't gonna work. So again, looking around the ramparts here, you just imagine 500 years ago, you know, you got a Spanish battalion based here, 10,000 miles away from home, the other side of the world. It can seem quite daunting now with travel this time and day and age, but can you imagine what it must have felt like to these Spanish guys? It must have been the equivalent of going to the moon in the 20th century. So many cannons, which is good to see. So the port area I've got to go to soon is over there. And immediately, as soon as I walk near there, I will get leapt on by the guys trying to help you buy a ticket, but expecting like a small tip, even though you don't really need help. I already have my ticket, so I don't need anybody's help. I should just walk through. Luckily, as I'm starting to speak more Bisaya, when they ask me, I shall just say Na'a, which means I have already. So they hopefully will leave me alone. So let's take a walk now. One thing with the Philippines, to me anyway, it always just feels like summer. It's not, because they have like rainy seasons and dry season. I think I don't know what we're at present actually. Excuse me. Good to see the bigger trees survived the major typhoon that hit last December. Many of these bigger trees didn't on the north of Bohol. In fact, my ex-landlord from the last apartment bought a mango tree plantation 2 months before the typhoon, and he lost 60% of the trees, and they take many years to grow back. So his investment was wiped out overnight, literally. So walking now to what would be, what's this, try and get my bearings, east side, because in the distance is the sea, and in the very, very, very distance, which you can't really see here, is the island of Bohol. It's about the same distance as going across the channel, the English Channel, so 30 miles or so on a fast cat ferry. Takes about an hour and a quarter. Okay, what's this? Bastian Ignacio de Loyola, maybe, I don't know, I don't speak Spanish. So, we're almost back to the steps down again. So there seems to be 2 growing seasons every year here. So you have 2 rice plantings and harvesting, and I presume it's the same for everything else. And these are palms. I don't know if they're dates or not, I really don't know. Somebody comment below and tell me. Very nice tree. Look, they remind me of magnolia, but they seem to flower for at least several months of the year. Don't know what they're called. One of my friends, Chris, has one in his garden, and I've forgotten what he told me it was called now. So again, the trees here seem to be the ones that flower. Yes, there are a lot of small shrubs that have flowers on, but so do many of the trees, which of course, being from Europe, is unusual for me to see. Getting back to where the steps and the ramp where I first came in. Good to see the start of recycling in the Philippines. So here we are, going down the ramp. So thank you for watching, and I'm going to look to see if I've got time to look around the park. Maybe do a little bit of filming there. So it was only midday when I checked my time, so my last check-in time for the ferry is at 1 p.m. So I shall have a quick look around the park. Again, nice to see the bigotry survived. A little bit of damage, but not too bad. So let's have a look, see what's here. 1855. I'd have to go and Google this to find out what it's about, because I'd be lying if I said I knew. But it's like a column. I imagine it's maybe one of the Spanish governors of the time. So the park is okay. It's gradually recovering. Really not that much to see here, but nice pleasant area to sit in the shade, but I'm in the full sun at this moment. It doesn't help either that I'm carrying around 2 big bags that are heavy. Anyway, time for me to walk over to the ferry terminal and check in. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and like. My viewing numbers are gradually going up, which is good. And stay tuned, as they say, to watch the next video in a few days' time. Bye bye.